Hey everyone, Mo here, and before the video begins, I just want to let you guys know that my schedule has opened up for me to do coaching again. So if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching for me to help you, whether you're a newer player and you want to excel at the game very quickly and learn the fundamentals without developing any bad habits early, or if you're an experienced player who's already maybe platinum or diamond in your top 1%, but you need some help filling in the gap to get you to that 0.01%, to make you just some of the best, then hit me up on Discord and I can get you in some private one-on-one coaching lessons to help you polish up any skills you want to refine and help you learn all of the secrets to becoming a top player. That's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, Mo here, and welcome to another episode of Meta Monday. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this series, I go through every Monday and I look at the stats from the previous week to let you guys know what are the most played decks on ladder, some of their, put in perspective, some of their win rates for you on ladder, and I try and give you an idea of like, maybe you can choose what the best deck to climb is for you, if you like aggro, if you like control, and kind of just tell you, oh, like this deck is 10% of the meta, so you probably don't want to play a deck that loses to this because you'll just freely lose 10% of your games. Stuff like that, all the stats. So I hope you guys are ready for that. I hope you guys enjoy. But before we get into the video, I wanted to remind you guys that 72% of the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to me. So if you guys could do me a huge favor and click that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to get notification whenever I post videos. Like, I know I haven't been posting that many videos last week, but I was really busy last week. So this week though, and moving on forward, I have my videos planned out. So we have things like deck guides coming out. I have the 5 best decks for ladder coming out. I have gameplay videos coming out. All that jazz. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon, leave a comment down below to help me out with the YouTube algorithm and let me know what videos you do want to see in the future. If you want to see more deck doctors, more deck guides, just more content like that, tournament content, you guys let me know and I'll provide it for you. But that's going to be it for the intro. Let's get into the Meta Monday. So, Meta Monday brought to you by Runeterra.ar. Best website for LoR Stats, period. This is the best site. Not sponsored, just letting you know. Best site. So, number 1 most played deck on ladder is Azir Aurelia. Azir Xerath. Mono Shurima. No surprise to anybody. Deck is still extremely played because the deck's good, okay? The deck is good. The deck is definitely better than I thought originally. I think I said that this deck is really good in tournaments, but not very good on ladder. Turns out when you make a good version and not Swim's version, which was bad and full of predicts, this is the version I have on screen. It's full of predicts. Let's look at the rank 1 person's deck list here if we can pull that up. So this guy has the highest win rate. You see here, look, boom, no predicts. You're not running the cringy predict package. You're playing a much more mid-range style deck, and that makes this deck a lot better on ladder. It makes the deck a lot higher win rate and way more consistent than just saying, hey, I'm going to go all in on the Sun Disc plan, and if they have a way to blow up my Sun Disc, I'm just going to lose, and it's going to suck. You take away all of that and just say, hey, I'm playing this like very fair mid-range deck that if you can't remove my Sun Disc, I just win the game on turn 6 or 7 anyways. You're still leveling the Azir and Victor and still leveling your Sun Disc on turn 7 a lot of the time. You're just not getting the super high rolls of doing it on like turn 6. And you have a lot more agency in your games and a lot more way to play around if your opponent does have some sort of way to remove that Sun Disc for you. Number 2, and a 57% win rate. This was the highest win rate deck in the game last week, is Victor Riven. Very heavy combo style based deck. It very much says, hey, if you're not playing Hush or Quicksand, something of that nature, and you can't stop my ambush cheese, I'm just going to cheese you out and OTK you with one of my big ass units. It's really good into Xerath because they don't run kill spells, and most of these decks are only playing like 2 Quicksand. Even if they're on the full of 3 Quicksand, the only card they have to interact with you in their entire deck is Quicksand. So if you just draw more ambush, or if your units are just bigger than theirs, and you make up enough threat density here with your like burn spells and your units, then the one of Quicksand that they draw really is not going to do it for them. And they're just going to fall really far behind and have a hard time dealing with what you're putting down. So deck is really good. I lost this deck in tournament recently. It's very much one of those, like, I'm going to go in. If you can't respond to me, I'm just going to win the game. If you can respond to me, there's still a chance I beat you because this is a threat. This is a threat. This is a threat. This is a threat. Like, this deck just has so many different threats that it's going to be really hard for your opponent to answer all of them. Number 3 is Caitlyn Ezreal. So Caitlyn Ezreal has been kind of more of a meta call to deal with the Yaya decks, the Lulu Fizz. Traps got super buffed in the last patch. so your opponent can't respond to traps. And fun fact, in Yordle and Arms, a lot of your units have 1 HP. So having low HP with Yordle and Arms, just being like, oh, I drew a trap at the start of turn, that kind of sucks. Your Pokesticks, that's going to draw you traps. That kind of sucks. I play Static Shock, that kills your Poros. I have good ways to deal with Yaya because I can, Static Shock says, okay, I'm killing 2 of your units before the Yordle and Arms resolves. And then on top of that, when I get priority back, I'm going to stun you with Sentry. So let's say you're a Yordle and Arms player. You have 6 full units on board. You cast Yordle and Arms. Your opponent goes Static Shock 2 of the small guys, Sentry a 3rd one. That takes out 4 blockers. So after that nutty 6-unit Yordle and Arms, you're only attacking with 2 units that are getting through. And that's assuming the Caitlyn Ezreal player doesn't have any other units in play to block and doesn't have mana to remove the units with something else, like maybe a Mystic Shot, right? Like if it's really late into the game. So, like, all in all, that takes up a lot of the Yordle and Arms turn, and that makes it from going to be the super scary, crazy Yordle and Arms winning turn to like, oh, okay, I guess I'm taking 7 damage, which isn't very relevant because I'm going to remove all of your units anyways. So I think Tri-Beam decks aren't doing really great. This deck has a 53% win rate, so it's very much respectable, but not like super crazy. Usually 55% is where you start calling decks good, so I would not consider this deck to be good, but I would say it's good into Yordle and Arms, and it's probably okay into things like other small Demacia packages, but overall it is not very good. Next up is Fizz Lulu. So Yordle and Arms, 57.5% win rate. This is now back to being the highest win rate deck in the game. Surprise, surprise. I called this last week. I said Yordle and Arms Pantheon were going to be the best decks in the game. Here we go. Yordle and Arms has the highest win rate in the game. Where's Pantheon? Pantheon, the win rate is definitely... Oh, no. Scouts has the highest win rate in the game. Oh, sick. So Yordle and Arms has second highest win rate in the game. And Pantheon is top 4. So pretty sick stuff. But yeah, Yaya, not much to go over here. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time going over it because it is literally the exact same deck that we've seen for months now. Not impressive. It's very much, oh, does your deck not have Deny or a way to deal with my Yordle and Arms? Okay, cool. I accidentally killed you. Very cool. Ziggs Talia Shurima Bandle City. So this deck and another version of Ziggs Talia, which has been Shurima Bilgewater, have kind of taken over the meta as a way to say, like, fuck you control, fuck you, like, slower decks. I think it should say, yep, so its best matchup here is the Azir Xerath deck. It should also do well into Caitlyn Ezreal. It does well into this deck. Targon's Peak does well into Pantheon, does well into, like, the Aphelios piles. So it's really good into the slower style decks because, how do I make it go back up? Into the slower style decks because they can't deal with things like the Overwhelm. Every single unit will, every champion's a threat because of Absolver. If you play a Herald, that you don't even need Absolver. Arsenal itself is a threat. If you're playing the Bilgewater version, you play some copies of the list, and that's basically just rallies for you. So you get to play Talia and then rally, and it gets like giga crazy and giga bumped. So this deck is very much a meta call if you're trying to beat some of the top decks. Like I said, it's really good into slower control style decks. Well, we see here, slow control style deck, slow control style deck. So already 15% of the meta is slow control style deck, and that's not including this. There you go. 18% of the meta. Oh, 20% of the meta. Like, and that's just in the top 10. Just out of looking at the top 10 decks, 20% of games played are slow control decks. So that means 1 in 5 games you're going to be favored on average, at least. And that's not including all of the random, like, 1%. Like, here's another 2%. So that's another 4%. That's another 6%. So, like, that right there, there's another, like, that's 7%, 8%. So we're already up to, like, 30%, right? So almost 1 in 3 games now you're going to be favored in if you play one of these anti-control, anti-slow style decks. And this is a deck that a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with. We see here the win rate style, it's 55%. So I would consider this deck good. A lot of people have a hard time believing new decks can be good. I think this deck is good. I actually contemplated bringing Ziggs Talia Bilgewater variant to tournament this weekend, and I was on a very anti-control lineup, and I trusted the deck so much that I was going to put my tournament run in the belief. So I think this deck is definitely something to look out for, especially if the meta continues to be slow decks. I think right now, for this next week, this deck's going to be good until the meta shifts to being like a bunch of fast decks, which I'll talk about at the end. Number 6 is Targon's Peak. So 49% win rate we see off the bat, not very impressive. not only is it not good, it's really not respectable. Decks are considered respectable or quote-unquote balanced at 50% win rate, so this deck is not even reaching that threshold. However, I do think this deck is really good in tournaments for the same reason that Ziggs Talia is. This deck destroys the really slow decks. You beat the Xerath Zillion, you beat the Caitlyn Ezreal, you beat the Senna, you beat the Aphelios decks. Like, you beat Pantheon decks just because they can't really abuse the Targon's Peak. So, like, you're really good at these slow decks. So, it just comes down to how consistent is it. And I think that's the problem with Targon's Peak, is it's not very consistent. Even though it does beat these slower decks where it's supposed to, you are favored. You're going to be less favored percentile-wise with this deck than you would something like Scout or Talia's Ziggs or something like that, because of how inconsistent the deck itself is. If you don't have Targon's Peak, the deck's win rate drops by like 5% easily. You know, stuff like that. If you don't have Rampant to Targon's Peak, the deck's win rate drops by another like 2%. So the deck itself, if you could consistently have Ramp into Targon's Peak, or just even consistently have Targon's Peak out on turns 4 or 5, this deck would literally be like a 57+% win rate deck, easily. The problem is you cannot consistently have Targon's Peak in play. And that's really what it comes down to. Alright, number 7. Aphelios Victor. So, our first Aphelios deck we see here, and it seems to be doing fine, right? Like, it's chilling here with a 53% win rate, so it's respectable, not considered good. I personally really like Aphelios PNZ, but I play the Aphelios Zoe Vi pile because I think Vi is extremely strong. So I don't think this deck list is necessarily great. I'd probably look at, let's see, maybe this player has a better deck list for us that we can use. Now let's see what the highest win rate player's deck list looks like. So he's playing Aphelios Victor. He's on the triple Aftershock to make your Sundust matchup not that bad. But you have a lot of agency into the rest of the meta. We saw that a lot of the top meta is combo decks that say things like, hey, if you can't deal with my combo, I'm going to run you over. This deck has answers to those combos. If they say, oh, I'm going to attack you with my 2020 elusive Riven, you have Hush. Same thing with like Victor, you have Hush. If they play a bunch of cheap units, like you can kill those. You have Thermogen for removal spells. And this is why I like Vi over Victor, is because Vi helps you kill other Victors. It helps you kill other Aphelios. Vi is just a really good removal self. It says, hey, I'm going to have a lot of agency in my games and be able to have more board control and then grind you out with things like the Aphelios guns, the Star Shaping, the Subpercibles, and stuff of that nature. So while Aphelios Victor is looking respectable at this 53% win rate, I'm really curious to see how the Aphelios Zoe Vi PNZ pile looks. Yeah, 50% win rate. So even worse percent win rate, probably because it's a harder deck to play. But I think this version is a lot stronger. If you want to play Aphelios PNZ, I would play Aphelios Vi Zoe because I believe that version is a lot stronger. It's just a little bit harder to play. It's not as straightforward as, oh, me play Victor, me use Victor spell, me pump Victor big type thing. It takes a lot more knowledge of the meta, a lot more knowledge of your deck, and a lot more games played on it to get good with it. But if you can master the deck, you will have a lot more success than you will with a Aphelios Victor deck. Number 8, Pantheon Yumi. Not going to comment on this too much. Pantheon Yumi, just still a very good deck. Has rallies. Rallies can only be so bad. Has bastions. Bastions are good. Has single combat, so you have a lot of agency in the combo matchups with things like Sharp Sight to block the elusive cheese, Concerted Strikes in single combats to fast speed strike open attacks. Then you have things like Cataclysm to go ahead and challenger the opponent unit. Like, you have a lot of interaction with your opponent, and you can stop a lot of the cheesy combos, and that's really what the meta comes down to. The good decks in the meta right now are decks that either have a combo that's insanely hard to stop, and that's why they have really high win rates. Like, and these are things like your Yordle Arms and Victor Riven. Or it's decks that have really high agency against those styles of decks. And this is going to be your Pantheons, your Raven, your Caitlyn Ezreal. Like, those decks have a lot of agency against them because they have a bunch of removal spells. Your Aphelios Vi Zoe, because, again, you have a lot of agency and board interaction and being able to challenge your things, kill things, hush things, stuff like that. So that's really what I'm taking away is the top winners from this week's meta report. Scouts coming at number 9 with the highest win rate in the game. And this is what I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Scouts. Not this exact list, but I think Scouts is absolutely nuts. I think Scouts is crazy. I climbed almost 200 LP in literally less than an hour last night playing Scouts. Scouts is my go-to deck for ladder at the moment, so big advocate for Scouts. I saw Skarzik also had this insane win rate to get to the Masters in Scouts. I'm sure my win rate's not going to be up to quite this high because I've played a significant amount of games with Scouts. Like, these people are out here with like 30 games with Scouts, 20 games, 30 games. I've easily played, I played at least 50 games of Scouts in the last week. I'm pretty sure it's closer to the like 75 like number of games played with Scouts. Like, Scouts is absolutely nuts, and I'm still here. We can look at it real quick. Let's look at it. Let's look at how many games I've played and what my win rate looks like with Scouts. So here in my last 11 matches, 90%. Let's scroll down. Ignore all the losses. Ignore all the reds. You'll see here. We'll pretend like that didn't happen. If Runeterra.ar would like to load, that would be great. But yeah. Either way, we can just look at it right now. I got 80% win rate, like 78% win rate in my last 14 matches. And again, that's like not even close to the amount of games I've played. So Scouts is my go-to deck. It's absolutely nuts. And coming in at number 10 is Azir Irelia. Basically Scouts, but as it's basically Scouts, but with less consistency. This is very much like you draw Azir or your deck is not good. Or you draw like Azir or Deus or your deck is not good. Even with Irelia, your deck is not very good if you just draw Irelia. You really need Azir or Deus. Whereas with Scouts, you need Misfortune or Quinn, or the 3-drop is really good. The Sergeant, because you can get 4 Demacias. It's like, or you have Cytherea is also a good win condition against some of these decks, or even Genevieve is a good way to pump your deck up to beat some of these. And you get rallies, which is really good. And Azir Irelia, if you don't have the Deus or the Azir, then your Blade Dances aren't very impressive. Your units are typically pretty small. Your Defiant Dance is really good, but kind of just stalls you out. It doesn't actually do much if you're not attacking with a bunch of blades. But that being said, it's still really good into the slow control matchups, just like Scouts is. You see here, its best matchups are the Azir Xerath, Zoe Aesol, Aphelios Victor, the Aphelios decks, the Vi decks, the Shadow Isles decks. It's really good into those styles of decks, and I think Azir Irelia is extremely underplayed. I actually think Azir Irelia is way better than something like the Ziggs Talia and the Targon's Peak. I just think it's not very fun to play, and I think people have this stigma about it, and they just hate it. They hate playing it because it wasn't fun to play last time, and people don't want to be known as the Azir Irelia player, where now if you're an Azir Irelia player, it's perfectly fine. Whereas if you were a Azir Irelia player before, you better just not even watch my videos because I hated Azir Irelia players. So, yeah, and that's going to round out our type 10. So the meta right now is very much, again, I'll reiterate it. It's be the combo deck that is extremely hard to stop, and that is the Victor Riven, the Yaya, stuff like that, where it's extremely hard to stop your opponent if you have agency, or be the deck with a bunch of agency and be the deck with a bunch of interactions, like the Aphelios PNZ, the Pantheon, the Caitlyn Ezreal, stuff like that, where you have a lot of say and you have a lot of interaction with your opponent to try and counteract it that way. But that's going to be it for this Meta Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment down below if I missed anything or what decks you guys have been playing in ladder. Let me know what you've been playing in ladder, what's been working for you. Maybe someone can go down in the comments, read some of these, get an idea, and climb some LP, make that push some Masters or whatever rank they're trying to hit. Go join my Discord because you get notification whenever I stream anything, post anything, and I do giveaways in there. I give away skins all the time, thanks because I'm LPP, and I give away battle passes and stuff like that. And that's gonna be it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one.